In history, we love to hear stories of heroism, stories that shaped the world, stories of success, people that impacted future generations. When Grandpa Lyle Mellen was 9 years old, he faced a tragedy in his own life. He lost his father. His two sisters and mother were there with him, but at that time in his life, my grandfather made a very important decision. He was going to raise his family differently. Legacy is a word that we often associate with those who changed the course of history, someone who influenced others and future generations. Legacy is really the long-lasting impact on the lives of others. Legacy is really a person who really sets the example for others to follow. Legacies can impact the future path of generations. My grandpa, Lyle Mellen, is leaving behind an incredible legacy that has lasted for 4 generations already. His legacy is really just beginning. My grandfather went from being a young boy at 9 years old to the patriarch of the Mellen family. This legacy directly impacted the lives of his 12 children and their spouses, his 25 grandchildren and their spouses, and in the future, his over 50 great-grandchildren. Imagine that impact on their lives. When I look at Grandpa, we see such an extraordinary person. But what made him so extraordinary was that he was so excellent at the ordinary. He put God at the center of his family and established roots in Fredonia, Kansas. Grandpa was steadfast, and he started his family by returning to his roots and adhering to the fundamental principles that would guide his family. Grandpa was so authentic and respectful of others. He made strangers feel so comfortable and warm in his house. He was so hospitable, and he welcomed everyone with a warm smile. The thing that set Grandpa apart was his tender heart. He cared deeply for everyone around him, and he was such a wonderful listener. I think anyone who had the privilege of spending some time with him went away blessed. Grandpa simply led by example. It was his great work ethic that everyone followed. He demonstrated the art of diligence and a strong work ethic. Grandpa never said, "This is how you should do it." He was quiet and humble and simply led by example. I think one of the most wonderful things about Grandpa was that he was so present in the moment. His attention was focused on the person directly in front of him. And oftentimes, the person directly in front of him was a family member. He did everything in his power to ensure that he was there in that moment. Whether it was a graduation, a wedding, recital, or a sports match, Grandpa was always there in that moment. And it didn't matter if it took a long time to get to that moment, because Grandpa would ensure that no matter how far it was, he wanted to be there in that moment. I remember he drove all the way from Fredonia, Kansas to Los Angeles, California, just to be there at my moment when I graduated university. He didn't go there for stars or the food or entertainment. He went there to hear his grandson's name called in Pollard Pavilion. The next day, he was on his way back to Kansas, and most likely he had plans to go to another grandson, granddaughter's recital, graduation, or special event. Being in the moment means being there for your family, but also opening up your home. Grandpa was so hospitable, and during the holidays, the house was overflowing with people. It was amazing how many people actually slept in the house on a Christmas holiday. I remember I used to sleep on the fold-out bed. I never understood why Grandpa and Grandma chose their room to be right in the middle of the house with 2 doors, one on each side. Grandpa was so generous. He set aside so much money to ensure that every child and spouse and grandchild's spouse, when they grew up, would have a present at Christmas. And he never forgot your birthday, because he always sent me $5. Even when I moved to China, every March would roll around and I'd get an envelope from Fredonia, Kansas with $5 in it from Grandpa and Grandma. Was there anyone who didn't feel better after spending time one-on-one with Grandpa? Did he ever have a falling out with anyone? Did anyone ever hear him complain? Was there anyone that Grandpa didn't like? The only answers to these questions lie in the Kansas City Chief and Kansas City Royal players who would make mistakes. Maybe they were the only ones that drew the ire of Grandpa. You see, Grandpa was busy building his legacy. He was being consistent with who he was, and he was passing that down to us. And if you took any time out in your life to observe him, you would see that what he was actually doing was investing in the future. He was being consistent with who he was, and he was passing that down to us. And if you took any time out in your life to observe him, you would see that what he was actually doing was investing in the future. And that's truly what it means to be a Mellen. It means being there in the moment for other people and investing in their future. We put God first in our lives, and we put our family as a priority. We value what God has given us in our family, and we invest in other people. And when I look at the Mellen family today, I see that God has so strategically placed us throughout the world to bless others, just as Grandpa blessed us. I'm so proud to be a Mellen today. I'm so proud in the investment that Grandpa made into our family and into our future generations. Most of all, I'm so thankful that Grandpa is now together with Grandma in heaven. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, consider others better than yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but to the interests of others. That's Philippians 2, 3, and 4. Does this verse not sum up my grandpa's life? When my son Justin was born in 2007, I gave him the middle name of Lyle because I wanted my son to carry on the legacy that Grandpa Lyle Mellen had started. I hope everyone will quiet their hearts, take time out to reflect. Think about Grandpa Lyle Mellen's legacy. You see, as each and every one of us was growing up, Grandpa was teaching. He was leading by example. Be present in the moment. Cherish every moment you have with your family. Be generous with your time and money. Treat everyone with respect. And when life gets difficult, we face adversity and challenges together. Thank you for setting the example for us, Grandpa. I love you.